Greetings, humans. How's it going out there in internet land? My name is Guy Royce, and today on Web, Whimsy, and Redis Stack, I'm going to do things and stuff. Well, at least that's the plan, things and stuff. First off, of course, hopefully my audio is working, and I just as I hit the live button, I got the low internet thing. And I remember the last time I streamed, my internet crashed out on me. So hopefully this goes a little more seamlessly. And I know the other day Simon streamed as well. He was doing some things Thursdays, and he suffered a sound failure. So we're having a lot of technical problems, but that's cool. We'll get there. So today I'm going to be live coding. I've been thinking all day about what I want to live code because I feel like a lot of the other projects I've have kind of been more or less wrapped up. And I think I'm going to go back to something and revisit an idea I had. I'm not going to revisit the code, but I'm going to revisit an idea I had of creating what I called Redis Mud. Mud, if you aren't familiar, is a multi-user dungeon. It's basically like the old text-based Zork game, but with multiple players. And so you've got a series of rooms that are connected together by doors. And you can, there's a combat aspect, and there's a chat aspect, and there's an exploration and creation aspect. And so I want to, I've always kind of dreamed of building one of these. And so I thought I'd give that a try. I haven't really put much thought into this in probably about 2 years at least. And I've got an old existing code base, but I'm going to ignore that. And I'm going to create Redis Mud 2 because I'm smarter and older and wiser. Well, maybe I'm older and wiser, but maybe not smarter. But I actually know Redis a lot better than I did when I did this the first time. And so I'm going to take advantage of that knowledge. The thought is that this is going to kind of demonstrate. Originally, I was doing it with just graph databases using Redis Graph. But I think this would be a nice opportunity to show how you can build an application that uses a lot of different aspects of Redis all together in one thing. And so I'm hoping to use some Redis search, just some hashes. I'm going to use some pub sub for the chat feature and for just events in general. I might even throw in some streams there to sort of like just create an event stream of all the things that happen on the mud. Probably lots of opportunities to use JSON documents to store a lot of the data. And what other things can I mention? Maybe use a Bloom filter for the usernames or something like that. I don't know. But so that's what I'm going to try and do today. That's the plan. So let's have at it. Let me get the chat here so that if you all leave chat messages for me, I can see them. And let's share my screen. So I have gone ahead. Hey, Methalich, how's it going? Good to see you. It's been a little while since I've streamed. I've been on the road. Last week I was in... or this week, I just got back yesterday from Kansas City. I was speaking at KCDC. And last week, I was on vacation. And next week, I'm going down to Louisville to speak at Codepalooza. And so I won't be streaming next week because I'll be giving a talk. Actually, I'll be providing photographic evidence that Steve Laurello's talk happens. I'll be in the audience there because he's going to be there as well. So. And thank you very much, Methalich. It's good to be back. It's good to be back here on stream. And I think this project could take me a good long while to do. So I think I'll probably be doing this for a bit. And I'll just touch what I can touch. So I've got a very basic package project here. I'm using VI test, which Captain Codeman converted for Redis Ohm. Way faster than using Jest. And so I've got a VI test config right here. It is pretty much the one that he created for Redis Ohm that I just copy pasted into here. I've got an empty spec folder. I got an empty lib folder. My package JSON, easy for Sean Connery. My package JSON. Although I just watched a video the other day with Douglas Crockford saying it was intended to be pronounced Jason. And everyone started calling it JSON, and he was cool with it. But I'm going to keep calling it JSON anyhow. So it's just got the name and the version and a little description. Type module, of course. Here's my little test runner kickoff thingy. And then VI test. So nothing much in here. I haven't even installed Redis yet. In fact, I probably should do that first. Let's npm install Redis. Yeah, I spelled it still right. Redis dash save. I don't think I need to say dash save anymore, but I still do it out of habit. And should be good for now. And so I was noodling a little bit before I got on stream on how I want to tackle this problem. And so I think that I want to have a sort of a session object, which represents a user session. So that would hold on to, that would be a thing that would receive events or publish events. And it'd be a thing where you would send your commands in. And so the idea is that you would send your command in. So like look, you type in the word look, or you'd say hello, and it would get sent back through all the Redis stuff. And then other people sending things your way would come through an event so that there can be a push. So if like you're in there and a text message comes up, a chat message comes up, you see it immediately. You don't have to wait for a response or if a monster wanders into the room. So let's go ahead and sort of think about how that might work. Like I said, I haven't given this a ton of thought, but I'm going to create a new file. And I'm going to create a new spec file. I'm going to call it session.spec.js. And actually, you know, I'm not going to write a spec first. I'm going to break all the rules here. I'm not going to write a test first because I need to really think about how I want to organize my code. So I just want to poke around with what the structure of this might look like. So let's start with a new file, session.js. And I'm thinking the session is going to be something like, we'll make it a class here, session. And then you've got like a send command, which takes a string, which is the string is just a command. So it'd be like the word look or something like that. And then that's going to do something. And then we'll have I guess on receive on it's the event that someone can call this, and we'll call back to you whenever you get a message on message. And then this will have a callback function, which is going to be this will be the callback. And so folks can register with this, and then whenever things come this way, we'll push them in. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. Probably this will have some mechanism to associate it with a user at some point. For now, I'm just going to say user. I think we'll just have it. We'll go with something simple. We'll sort of play around with what the authentication mechanism will be. Right. For now, you can just pass in the username, and then like this.user equals user. And so that's roughly the idea behind session. Let's poke around some more. Let's look at, like, I want to be able to send a command. Probably the easiest thing to do would be to just have like a chat server working first. That's probably the easiest thing to do, right? So I could do something like when a command is sent here, it does something and pushes it to a pub sub, and then on message is responding to pub subs. I could put that code here in this session, but that's not really where it belongs. And so, well, geez, how do I want to do that? I'm designing software on the fly here. And any recommendations, any advice is will be greatly received. Will be gratefully received. I'm kind of just, I need to spike out kind of how I want to do this. I created the session spec, but I'm not going to write it. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm not going to write any tests. Let's see. So, well, let's just go ahead and import Redis here. Let's do it all in one module here and see what we come up with. So import create client from Redis. There we go. And we'll just go ahead and create a Redis connection here. That's right. No tests for me. And I'm going to do what I always do with this little bit of create client code, which is I'm going to totally cheat and not remember how to write it. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to copy pasta. Someday I may write this code, but for now, Label A has written it for me. So here's our client. I don't want semicolons. If we get an error, log the error, and then connect the client. And boom, we've got a Redis client. I've got Redis Stack running locally already. So you can go over here and see that this is my Redis Stack instance. It's just Docker. If I go here if I go to Docker, yes, you see that there's Redis Stack running there. I just kicked it off 28 minutes ago. And Redis Stack, the nice thing with the Redis Stack images is it's got Redis, it's got all the modules, Redis Search, Redis JSON, Redis Bloom, Redis Time Series, Redis Graph. They're all in there. And I think this is the coolest bit. It's got Redis Insight included in it. So you just go to localhost 8001 and boom, you got Redis Insight. My particular image is slightly out of date. There's a newer one that has more things in here. I may want to upgrade that because it's got like some stuff for PubSub actually baked into it now. So, but we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. So this gives me a client. I think then the session here, when it's got a user, let's go ahead and let's see, Redis or client dot. I need one client for the yeah. So this client here can kind of be used by everyone, but the session needs its own client, because if I want to do PubSub, then the client that the PubSub needs to use needs to be separate. As soon as you subscribe to things, it takes over the connection. Nothing else can come in. And so I think we this session needs two it needs two clients, but the outer client here could be shared by everyone. But the client for message consumption, messages coming in, I think would work best for this alone. So I believe I can say client dot what is it? Where's label A when I need them? There's a command in Node Redis that will get you an isolated connection, or get you another connection. Let's look at PubSub. I think there's a section in PubSub on here. Isn't there? PubSub, here it is. Duplicate. Call it duplicate and then connect. That'll do the trick. So we'll say this dot subscriber equals client dot duplicate, and then I can't await that because that's a constructor, which is annoying. But it's probably okay. Need to await that. I know I can't call await here. That won't work. If I don't call await, it's going to return, and then the next thing that's going to come in, I think I can get away with that without awaiting that. We'll find out. And then so we'll do a send command, and that's going to be a client dot. Let's see. Let's look at more PubSub here first. And we want to subscribe to let's see, probably a pattern subscribe. Yeah. Let's go with a pattern subscribe. Let's just get some plumbing working here. Again with the awaits. That might be a problem. Let's just subscribe to everything, all channels, all the time. You got a message and a channel, and then here we got console.log message channel. So if anything comes in, then then this will log it. And then in here, we want to send a command. So we want to say, we want to publish a message. So we'll say client.publish. And this will be, we'll pass in the this.user. That'll be the channel we publish it to. And then a message is just going to be the string that was passed in. And then this callback here, say this dot callback equals callback, and then it returns. And here we can say then, if this dot callback, if we have a callback function, then call it with the message and the channel. Is the user. So this actually happens to be the user. No, it's not necessarily the user. Yeah, the missed await subscribe connect. That's the problem. The problem is I'm in a constructor, which Carlos, you've just noticed. Yeah, maybe you can create a static method that a user and has a method async to subscribe, and the user this user instance can be returned. Not fully seeing that as I say it out loud, but I think I do need to like that's not going to work. This isn't going to work, but this does need some sort of init. So let's do that. Let's give it an init and then give it a user. So, and then we can just get rid of the constructor. All this code goes down here. And this function becomes async. Goes away. This gets the username. I'm going to call this username. Username. User is fine. And then I can duplicate the client connection here. I can create a subscribe. I can connect to the subscriber, and then I can subscribe to the subscriber, and then call the callback. And that should register a callback. Yeah, I think this is code that could work. Let's write a test around it to make it do something. Let's see this actually do a thing. We don't need to package JSON. We do have a session spec here. I'm going to move this over to the right so we can see both at the same time. And in here, I'm going to describe, import that. Session. I could type, that would be great, wouldn't it? There we go. I do need to import last session. Import session from $lib / session. Yes. That works. And then here we'll say before each, create a new session. And up here we'll say let session. And then we'll call session init. And I'm going to use, we'll use methylage. There we go. Did I spell it right? And that callback needs to be async there. And I could await this, but I can also just return it. Doesn't matter. We'll do await. Label A is always telling me that I don't need to do this. I should return, but it's just semantically easier for me to think about if I just put the await there. So that's what I do. Cool. So we got a session. We got a before each. We're creating the new session. Or we're initting that session. Now we should, and then we need to register a callback. Oh, this will be fun to test. Async's always fun to test. I do know how to do that here with Jest and VI test though, so we should be good. Let's say it. Oh, pizza sounds good. I could go for some pizza right now. I had olives and cheese and summer sausage for breakfast or for lunch. So what's it doing here? It receives a sent message. So I need to, after I do this, I do need to have some sort of, how do I want to do this? Because I need to have a callback that I verify something in. I know there's interesting ways to do that. You can use like done and stuff like that. Let's go session.send command foo session.on message. And then I have a little callback function here. And that's going to receive the message in the channel. And here it'll call done. Here I can pass in a done function. This will tell it it's async. Yeah, it's saying use a promise instead. I'm gonna ignore that. Just to see if I can. Is it saying I should use a promise instead? I don't disagree with that sentiment, but I don't know that a promise. I'm not sure I could tackle this with a promise in this particular scenario because I want to have my expect in here. Message to be foo. Single quotes here. And expect a channel. And then we call done to say that we're done. And we call send command on foo. We've registered. We send the command. This test is what I think it should be. We'll see if it works. It did not work. Session is not a constructor. That is not the error I expected. I don't think the done. No, I don't think the async done needs to be called there, Carlos. That's a good thought. But the way the done thing works is you pass done. Done gets passed in, and it's a way of not doing async, right? But I'm having a more fundamental problem, which is I'm not importing my export class session because I didn't save the file. That'd probably be it, right? subscriber is not defined. This dot subscriber. That's what I get for copy and pasting code from the Redis Home documentation, right? Okay, that is done. Promise is deprecated. Use promise instead. How could I use a promise to do this? I mean, I'd have to create a promise. So I'd have to say like return or the new promise. And then, oh God, I haven't created a promise from scratch in forever. What the hell was that? I just heard sound like something big fell on the upstairs floor up there. Hopefully my son's okay. He's 18. He'll figure it out. So it's okay. Well, okay. I hate to do this. I feel like such a noob, but I am going to look at MDN promise and take a look and refer to the documentation and just remind myself of the promise. Okay, you give it a promise, it gets an arrow function. Yeah, okay. It takes a resolve and reject with an arrow function. That's right. Resolve, reject. And then in there, I can do all that, right? And then this async function. And to resolve. And will that do it? I need to return the new promise. There we go. Now let's try it. Hey, it worked. Cool. That totally worked. Let's I want to see it fail though. So let's make our test. Let's break our test by. Okay. It totally failed. Cool. And I wonder if we can see that. I wonder if we can see that go through Redis, because I mean, I know I'm going through Redis, but there's no evidence that we're going through Redis. Like it's just we're taking it on faith. And I think if I let's see, let's go here. I might be able to in here say p subscribe star. Yeah, it's not supported on Workbench because it's a blocking command. We should be able to, we can look at the profiler here. We should be able to see this. Yeah, go ahead and start. I don't care. If we do that, we should see something happen. Let's go ahead. Yeah, there's the call to p-subscribe and there's the call to publish. So it actually is going through Redis. Cool. Yeah. And that is called lag. But I do think I'm going to see if I can remember the Docker command to upgrade my the instance of Redis Insight here, or Redis Stack. So the command is what is it? Docker. So I probably have it somewhere in my history. Anyone on stream happen to know offhand the command to update an image? Docker stop Redis stack, like Docker upgrade or something like that. I'm stalling as I give time for lag to let the internet be smarter than me. Yes, something went wrong. I killed the Docker image. So go to Docker update image. Random. I just can never remember any of the commands. Is it Docker pool? Docker pool, get the latest one. It does. You're in the right territory, Conrad. But I'm using Redis Stack, so it's Docker pool Redis Stack, Redis Stack latest, but correct. Okay. Now let's see if I start this. Trying not to type and then hitting up arrow more than I would have typed. Docker start, not stop. Okay. There it is. Up for 6 seconds. Go to localhost 2001. Yeah, I don't think that actually. I have the latest image, but I don't think my containers actually. The Redis Stack container is set up to do that. Is there a command to update my container, or do I just need to destroy it and recreate it? I'm actually perfectly content to destroy it and recreate it. Let's go to redis.io/Redis Stack. Get started. Install with Docker. And then that. So Docker stop Redis Stack. Docker remove. And then so that should be the new one then. There we go. Yes, I accept the terms of agreement. Okay, so now you see here we've got the workbench, we've got the slow log, we've got pub sub. And then we're going to go subscribe. Does it ask me? It looks like it just does everything. Let's see if our test, then npm test. There it is. Cool. Totally worked. I actually haven't messed around with this feature yet in Redis Stack, in Redis Insight with Redis Stack. So that makes me happy. Cool. Yeah, Conrad, it does actually. So there's two Redis Stack. The Docker version does. So the Redis Stack server is just Redis and the modules, so it's just Redis Stack. The Redis Stack image is Redis Stack plus a Redis Insight baked in as well. Yes, Methalich, there is a stream viewer in there as well, I believe, and they keep adding more and more features. So we'll just do an x add. We'll add something to a stream. X add key. Just call a stream called foo, and then it's just star, right? And then foo bar as quux. Okay. So now we've got a stream named foo. refresh here, click on the stream, we can see we've got a view of it. So, and they even did a graph thing too, which the last time I streamed, I was actually surprised to see that there's a graph capability because I didn't know that was coming. So when you do graph queries, you can actually see the little lollipops all connected to each other. So it's pretty cool. But let's delete this field. There we go. Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, this is super convenient because it's just, I got Stack and Insight, and it's all just one command line on Docker away. It's fantastic. It's the only way to fly. So this is actually sending a message around. I feel like this is kind of junky code though, because I actually really don't want send command to publish a particular thing. I don't necessarily know that I want the channel to be the username. I think the channel is probably going to be the room that you're in the mud. And then, so anyone that's in that room would see that message, perhaps. But that said, the message that's sent probably needs information about who sent it and all that sort of thing. So, I'm thinking this might need a little more something. It definitely needs a little more something. Because words are hard and all that. Let's see. Well, what? I'm just kind of delighted that this worked at all, and so I'm like, oh, maybe I should just call the stream right there. Yeah. But I know I want more layers than this. Like I what I want is a session that is just responsible for maintaining a connection, and that it's everything for it's everything for a user. It's a user session, and that session needs to know like what room the user's in and what the username is, and then as it receives commands from the user, it will update those things. It'll like it want the command to move, then it'll move you to a different room. If it gets a command which is just text to send as chat, it would announce that chat to everyone who's in the room. And so I think what would be the next thing to grab? Would it be to create rooms? Would it be to make the messages being published a little bit nicer? Because these messages coming in aren't just necessarily going to be chat messages. They could also be things like a monster has appeared and stuff like that. I think the session's probably just going to be dealing with text only, and then other layers are going to transform the types of messages into text. So let's see. I don't necessarily need to get the concept of a room yet. Maybe I do. Yeah, I think we probably do need to know what room they're in. Yeah. How to tackle this problem? So I think I mean, this is fun and it proves the thing works, but I need something. I'm designing software out loud here, and it has me. I'm like, do I want to create a room class of some sort that represents the room that they're in, and then that room is responsible for sending messages to. Yeah, actually, I think that is what I want. And then I can have a thing that is responsible for sending and receiving messages via PubSub. So you handed a channel name, you handed a room name, and then a message, and then it then sends it to Redis. So do I need a room class? Let's just start writing code and see what happens. I'm going to create new file room.js. And then it'll export class room. That's a place to start anyhow. And then each user, we'll bring the constructor back, and it'll have this dot room equals new room. And then we'll give the room a name, which is going to be the hub. And so in the room constructor, the name of the room, see this dot name equals name. And then I guess we could put some properties on here as well. Say get name, get description. And we don't need a description yet. The name will be good. Yeah, the session would maintain the state for the room. For example, users join and unjoin. Yeah, that's the idea. Well, this isn't specifically a chat room. It's a room in a dungeon, but it's the principle's the same. They enter and leave. But the session is for the user because it's all text-based. And so we need a room that has... the session shouldn't really be creating a room. It should be getting a room instance when you first log in for whatever room you happen to be in. So maybe we just have like one room instance per instance. That's not going to work because this underscore name, or in this underscore name. And then I'm guessing the room would then talk to some sort of pub sub thing, right? Okay, so hang on. This is the problem with this unscripted coding thing, right? You never really know what we're going to get. Because I don't want to create a new room here each time. I really just want to have one instance of the room. No, then maybe I do want to create a new room each time. Maybe what I really want to do is say room and call static method on room to say, like main room. And then later on in the session, if the user was in another room when they started out, they could come back to that. Let's look at another file here. Let's look at the I'm just going to call it pub sub. And we're just going to call it pubsub.js for now. The pubsub.js is going to do this. It's going to be all the pub subby stuff. So and will that work? Hang on. I just feel like I'm just throwing class names out here without really thinking about it. Well, let's tackle this differently. Okay, let's delete these, move to trash, and then in here, the behavior here isn't actually what I want. I want the channel for the message to be the room, not the user. And the user is going to start in a particular room, which we will probably have some sort of ID for. We can't use the name of the room because the name of the room won't be unique necessarily, but an ID would be. So we could use ULIDs for that ID. Why is my test failing? Oh, failing import. I do want to subscribe to. Does that mean then we should subscribe to just messages for the room? I don't think that's the case. I think we should just subscribe to everything and filter it out, maybe. Although that could be a lot of noise. Yeah, I think we should have subscribe at a room level. If we look at this subscribe, we probably should have an unsubscribe in here as well. So let's see. So my thought here is I want to take things that are in here that are redundant, or I want to take what's in this file right here in the session.js, clean it up a little bit, and have it do the right thing. And then once I have it doing the right thing, I can figure out what my units are and pull them apart, because I don't know what they are yet. Yeah, it's building rooms or dungeon or that's kind of what I'm thinking too, Mephilich, is I want to create like a rooms in a room. And the rooms class has methods to basically find, or maybe it's just room dot fetch starting room, room dot this, room dot that. But the room needs to then push things to the user onto. Yeah, okay, that works. Yeah. Let's try this. So we'll just create a new room. For now, we're going to make the room just a. We're going to make it a singleton. But this is temporary. Classroom, and we'll say export. Classroom, export. And then the room class is going to have, it does need a name. So get name, instructor. Now let's think about how where are these rooms coming from? That's really the question we need to be asking ourselves. So we need to I want to create some static functions here. Static fetch hub, that'd be the starting room, and then static fetch room, and then this would take like an ID, the room ID. And then the room could have properties like we'll just start with name. Turn this dot name, and et cetera, and it's description. Turn this dot description. And I guess we could even say get ID, return this dot ID. Okay. So we've got some very basic properties on a room. And then what we need to do is fetch hub is just a call to, and these needs to be async. Just going to say room dot fetch I say class.fetch, or am I thinking like a Java developer? I'm thinking like a Java developer. Room.fetch room, and then we're just going to arbitrarily say that the hub is always room 0. In fact, I'll probably store these as ULIDs, but for now we'll just call it room 0. But I could let's go ahead and generate a ULID. I don't want to use a ULID for the room ID necessarily. For the hub, I want to use all zeros, but I want to see how big the ULID is. So that's it. There's a ULID there for you, and we'll just make this all. So that'll be we'll call that null the ULID const null ULID, or so the hub ULID, we'll just call number 1. Because I think we may have a desire to have global messages as well, and so I think a null ULID would be a good channel name for the hub for global messages. So this just calls that and return, and technically I could await that, but then it's there. And then here I'm going to do something to read it from Redis. And then it's going to be this.id equals the underscore ID. These need to be underscores because otherwise I've created recursion. Not what I'm intending. And so this is going to read it from Redis and then set the properties on this object. So and so that means this needs a Redis connection, just like this does, which means I need some I need a place for Redis connections. So we'll call this Redis.js. We'll take this bit of code that we put up here. We will put it in Redis.js. Import create client, export const client equals Redis equals create client, and then that will give us a client that we can use from anywhere. I think I want to rename that Redis client just to be really clear. And then here, and then here. And now in here, we can just import, in the session, we can import client. Import Redis client from. Amazingly, this code's all still working, but it's not. And there's a publish. Now it's still working. Okay, so now I've got a Redis client that I can use from everywhere. So I've basically taken a Redis client, made it global. So we can import it here. And here we can just say, let's store our rooms as JSON objects. I think that'll using Redis JSON. So we'll say Redis client dot JSON dot get, and we'll store this in a key called room colon, and then we'll use the ID. Backticks on that. We can await that. And const room JSON is that. And this dot ID is going to be equal to ID. This dot underscore name is going to be equal to room JSON dot name. I think that'll work. And description. Now, I don't have any rooms out there, but I think that'll work. I mean, this will work regardless because even if we don't get anything, it's going to return an object back, and it'll just have undefined for these properties, and these will become undefined, and then those will be undefined, and so we'll get undefined, undefined, undefined. But so now, when we init here, we'll say this dot room equals room dot first import room. I mark that as exportable. We did. And then we'll say this dot room equals room dot fetch hub. Wait. Let's leave user as user for now. And then we are still subscribing here. And subscribing to all messages. I think we want to subscribe to room.id. Yeah. My JSON.get didn't work. Well, let's take a look at that. Does it return back? Console.log room JSON. Oops. That so I can see it run clearly. It just straight up logs out a null because that was not found. JSON.get needs that, and then we need a JSON path. That was missing. Should log out something else. Let's see. I didn't think that would return null if the key was empty. Oh, what's it do? What's Redis JSON do when we hit that in Redis Insight? So we'll go here to JSON.get foo $. Returns nil. Nil is being returned to null. What if I do this? Name. Because it doesn't resolve anything. Well, let's do this. JSON.set room : this $. and then a couple single quotes, and we'll give it a JSON document. This will be the name. Let's just set it to this. $. There we go. Now if we rerun this, we're getting a different error. Saying room is not defined. It's this.room.id. Cannot read properties of oh. How to return it. And it's not this dot underscore, it's const room equals new room, and then it's room. All right. Okay. That fails, and I think this fails in a way I'm expecting it to, because we're saying we're in session now. We are listening on the room channel, and we receive a message in a channel, but our spec is publishing a message. No. Send command is passing for the user. And so this needs to be this.room.id. And now, okay, now we got a failing test like we expected. Our test is failing in the way we would expect. So it's going through all that room infrastructure that I've written. The room doesn't have any data, but it does find the document, and so that works. Should it be? I think this should probably be that. Doesn't change anything. So on our test, we say send command foo, and it should be message should be foo. That's still correct, and the channel should be the session dot room dot ID. Actually, that passes. I don't think I necessarily want my test to say that, but that's what it should be doing. Cool. But now I want this to say something a little bit better than this. I don't want it to say, I don't want it to receive a message of foo. I want to receive a message that's like, I want it to receive a message that says something along the lines of Mefalich said foo, right? Yeah, I think right now that might be a risk, Conrad. Yeah, it is static. But if we fetch room by ID, I mean, we could get two instances of a room class with an ID that's the same, but two rooms shouldn't have the same ID. Two instances will, but they'll be backed by the same data in Redis in both cases, so I think that's okay. And it's actually, well, I had a half of an idea. It's a mixed idea. It's not necessarily a good idea. It's not necessarily a bad idea. It's kind of an interesting idea. That instead of having fetch room do a single call to JSON.get and then getting everything and then serializing and returning it back, if someone changes that room in Redis because they do something, this doesn't get notified. And so creating some sort of hot object would be kind of nice. One way to do that would be to have just these properties here, just call Redis directly. So instead of fetching room, actually going out and talking to Redis, well, let's refactor this just to show it off. The downside of this is that it's chatty. The upside of it is that it's always current, right? So let's go for the chatty implementation, just to explore it, because it's kind of a neat pattern. And Redis is fast enough that you can kind of get away with it sometimes. So instead of creating a new room and setting properties, I'm going to make each of these properties be a call to Redis client.json.get. So then here, ID is the exception. Redis, so this is going to await Redis client JSON get room ID dot. This is going to be this.id. And then this is going to be $.name. And then that should do that. Now the $.name is not going to get exactly what I want, because if I go over here and say $.name with JSON.get, it's going to return me an array with everything that matches that path in it. I also don't have a name, so let's go ahead and set the name on it. That's going to be a JSON literal string. So we'll call this the hub. We go over here and look at our key. We should now see it has a property of the hub. And so then if we go back over here and query it again using this query here, we can see we get an array with the hub in it. So this call here is going to return an array, but I think I can just do that. Now that should get the name out. And then same thing for the description, except that I'm going to get the description. And then I'm just going to return this as is, and that's going to return the promise that is the call to JSON.get. And so this creates sort of like a hot object. It goes out there and reads them all the time. So rather than going up here and getting JSON and setting some properties, creating a new room is just a matter of creating a new room instance and setting the ID and returning it. It's kind of an interesting pattern. I don't know that this is it's nice because it creates live objects. So every single time I ask for the ID or the name or the description, it's going to go to Redis and get it, which is nice because it's always super current, but it's bad because it's chatty. But I'm going to go down this path a little bit and just see where it takes me. And it'll probably take me somewhere bad, honestly, but that's okay. This is how we learn, right? So, so I don't want this to say in here. I don't want this to say just foo. I'm going to send foo here, and I'm expecting the channel to be the room that we're in, and the message is going to be something like the username. We're going to go with methylich still, and yeah, so this would be like the methylich says, you know, foo. But from here, from the send command, I want to publish. It's published to the room, and then there's the string. I don't think I want this to publish here. I think this might be, maybe we delegate this to the room. No, maybe not. I mean, because I can make this pass simply by saying this dot user colon s. And then when I initted this in my spec, I did make that. Oh, I didn't capitalize it. There we go. That passes. Yep. Hi. Yeah, that kind of works. But this logic feels like it's in the wrong place. Like I'm deliberately trying to get the. Well, I've got a room. That was a start. I think what I need next is the pub sub semantics to be somewhere else. And so maybe the room needs the ability to send messages around or something along those lines. Because ultimately the session needs to know the room that you're in. It needs to know the user that you are. And it needs to know, now that's really the things that it needs to know. And then it's going to, when you type in a command, this is literally going to be like, if you're sitting there, it's like a command line, right? You're in this game, you're in the room, and you type in the command you want to interact with, and then it's going to respond with something. And if you have like a slash command, then it's going to do something special. And if you have just a regular text, it's just going to come out as chat. And so something needs to receive that command and turn it into those things. And then something needs to push these back. So, and also in practice, you probably shouldn't see your own messages. I kind of feel like, greetings, Santiago. Welcome to the stream, and thank you. That's not a bad idea. Right now, I'm sort of assuming just the dungeon is everything. But yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Is I need to well, it's not, maybe it's not the session, but it needs the what is it needs exactly? Session feels like it might be slightly the wrong noun, but but yeah, there's some sort of context that needs to be passed around to everything. Because ultimately the room is going to have objects in it and stuff like that. The idea of the session is that some client's going to create a session, like maybe some sort of like SSH client. And then, it also could be a WebSocket client, and it could be like a, straight up socket client. It could be lots of different things. And then that's going to be sending text back and forth on that bidirectional pipe. And so whenever on message is called, that's going to be things coming to you, and then send command it's basically read and write, right? Except for it's push text up the pipe, and receive text down the pipe. So it needs to be, I don't request data, data is pushed to me. So that's hence the on message. And so this session class here is intended to represent the user and the room they're in. But I think the room is it the room that needs to handle the command? That feels wrong. Because I don't feel like a thing a room does from a noun point of view, right? And the yeah. The other thing that I've got noodling in my head is that well, let's do this. This will be progress we can make, right? Let's create a user.js. This will basically be what the class.js is. You can at least yeah, the session is orthogonal to all of those. Yeah. And yeah, the user would, well, a user could send the command too. See, all these make sense, right? I'm going to go ahead and create a user that just represents the user data. So we say fetch user and by username. User equals new user. I'm not going to make this guy hot swappable or hot object like I am with the room, because I don't think the user's information. Well, maybe. Yeah, let's go with it. What the heck? Username. It's really just the ID field by another name. And then name. Actually, that's called ID. We'll have ID equals ID and return that user. And then this will be the ID. And then the name will be like it's like my user ID is G Royce. My username is Guy. That's the distinction I'm drawing here. So that way, if I pass in my ID for a thing, it puts my display name on the chat messages. That's the idea here. So we're going to go with user, and then that's the name. And then in the session now, instead of just storing the username, we pass in the user ID here. So this will be user ID. And then this user equals await user dot fetch user user ID. And I have named this thing wrong here. No, I didn't. I did name it. I did name it correctly. Excellent. And I can import user JSON and helps if I spell await right. And then in here, then when I publish a thing, I can say this user dot name dot ID username. That way it's getting undefined foo. Well, that's all working at least. Let's go back into Redis and set a JSON.set user :methylich path root, and then name : methylich. And then if we go back over here and look at our keys, There. And that didn't work for some reason. And my spec, that's because the ID is wrong. Still not working. Oh. That's because that is asynchronous. I do an await inside of... This is like the worst place to do an await ever. I guess that means that becomes async. I'm say name equals. I don't want to inline that. That feels particularly egregious. And then still not working. What am I doing wrong here? So fetch user, there's the ID. Const user goes to the user. User dot underscore ID equals ID. Get ID, return the get name. JSON to get. Name. Looks right. It's coming back as undefined. Spec session.user.id. No, because the channel is still the room name, and then this should be methylich::foo. What's happening is the name's not coming back. Isn't the username in the session? It was, but I have embedded it into the user instance instead. And so now it's not working. So I broke something. And what I think I might not be getting away with my asynchronous property. I suspect that's what I'm having a problem with. No, I don't actually. Thus, it would be s.username. Let's take a look here. Is this.user.name? What happens if I get the promise instead? That still is undefined. Okay, so user.fetch user, static async fetch user. I'm awaiting that. It doesn't really, actually, that doesn't need to be async anymore. Because it's not actually doing anything. That's true of the room as well. All the asyncs have moved to the properties. But that doesn't. I wonder if we can do that. Yeah, I can't do that. That doesn't make sense. Am I just doing? I wonder if I'm just not querying the right thing. User colon dollar this dot ID. So that'd be user colon methylich dollar dot name. Bring an object. Oh, I know what it's doing. So this call to get is asynchronous. I'm returning the promise that resolves to an array of the names. And so then I'm trying to get the 0th element of the promise, which can't work. And so that is also going to happen down here. And so what I need to do instead is maybe is just have an await little arrow function or something. This is clunky. I can have a little async arrow function here. Await the results of that. That work? I don't know if that'll work or not. I'm probably just burying the problem one layer deeper. This can't be async. No. It can. And then return the awaition of that. My brain's hurting. Too many layers of conclusion. This is a bad pattern. Returning. Okay. It's either a bad pattern and I should just be storing things and then refreshing them periodically, or I need to not use getters. So I could say like name like that, and then I could just mark it as async. And then it would just be a matter of that would probably work. And then in the session here, instead of calling that. Oh. Okay, so const result equals a little more clean, and then return result of 0. What? that should be working, because that's literally That is not what I thought it would do. What's in the result? Oh. Okay. I thought it was returning an array. Does that mean I can do that? Do this now? Now that doesn't work, because that's trying to get the name property on this. But I could do this, and then it works. Yeah, but that's ugly. So Um, we'll get the result back from there. And we'll return result.name. There we go. That's passing. That means that my other bit of code here in room.js is going to have exactly the same problem. So we're going to mark this as async. And do that. And I'm going to have lots of little itty bits of code that look like this. That needs to be async. So that's passing. So I got, and that no longer needs to be awaited because it's, yeah, there we go. Cool. How am I doing on time? Yeah, profiler time. I would be curious to see, actually. That would have been a good idea. I wish I would have saw your comment earlier. Oh, it's doing what I'm expecting to do. So this is a little tidier. Let's take a look. So we've got users and rooms. We've got our session here. Still got a lot of stuff in the session. What send command is doing is saying so-and-so set of, this needs to delegate to some other thing at some point. But for now, it's just doing chat messages. So let's look at our tests. How am I doing on time? That's 3:30 already. I got about half an hour yet to go on this. So I'm going to go about another half hour, and then I'm going to call it a day. It's Friday. I've got a weekend to look forward to. But the session is what I'm testing, but I'm really not testing the session. I'm doing more of an integration test, and that's fine. We can continue to call this a session test for now. These are already, don't need those. So I want it to not send messages. I don't want you to see your own messages. Maybe I do. Actually, I think I do want you to see your own messages. I do want an ability to send global messages that get sent as well. And I need to do commands. So let's look at global messages first. I think that'll be a little easier. This person here, the session subscribes for any messages it cares about. I have the urge to push that into another class, but for now, let's just rename this. This is the room subscriber. And then we want to have a global subscriber. So those will both connect. And then we subscribe to the room ID here. And then here we say this global subscriber. This actually isn't a p subscribe. This is just a subscribe. don't need a pattern subscribe. We are going to a specific channel. And then the global subscriber is going to be like in the room here. There's the hub, the ID of the room. And then there's going to be the global channel. Doesn't belong in here, but we'll put it in the session for now. It'll become obvious where it belongs later. Global channel. And then this will just be global channel. And so now we can get messages from global system messages as well as regular messages. So we got here, we can receive a sent message. We receive a sent chat message from ourselves. And then let's do it receives a sent message from someone else. So we need another session. Other session. Equals new session. Wait. Section. Other session.init. And then we'll go with who else has been hanging out. We got Conrad's been here a while. Well, the other user will be Conrad. And that means I need to add Conrad to my instance. Is there an option to duplicate? No, probably not. So we'll say json.set a user on Conrad $name Conrad. So we'll go with your full name here. And then cool. Now go to keys, we should see Mefalich and Conrad both in there. There we go. So here then other session is Conrad. Let's put those right here for some reason. So session.onMessage, other session, send command R, in which this should be what's that? Oh, this is oh, that's funny. Other session, did I spell it wrong? Down here, I'm saying other session bar, but the so other sessions should receive this, but so should the same session. These are actually hard tests to write because what's happening is I've got two sessions. And session.onMessage here. Like this should show up for both. Like this actually should be true for both sessions being sent in. Right? Like this on message here is going to get called twice. So I'm actually pretty confident I did this right. It just, I've got multiple handlers. Yeah, so there's a publish, there's a publish. Is there a clear? Yeah, there we go. Go ahead and run it again. So it's publishing both messages correctly. I'm subscribing twice too, actually. Yeah, I think that's what I need to do, is delete the session or have a unsubscribe or something like that. After each. Let's give that a shot. Go ahead and delete the sessions here. Can I get away with that? I don't think that, yeah, it doesn't. A session equals undefined. No, that will fix it either. Yeah, that's not quite what I need to do. The thing is that sessions connect, but they never disconnect. And I create them each time. I could probably do before all. That would change the error at least. But this is fundamentally just a tricky thing. So the session needs to be tidily. I need a need to destroy. I'm creating constructors and destructors. What am I doing here? And we can say things like this dot room subscriber dot unsubscribe, this dot room dot ID global subscriber subscribe global channel. And then this could be session dot destroy and other session dot destroy. And is that async? Yeah, that works. There we go. That works. So it's not. So for each test, we create these two things. This one, we're checking that receives a chat message from ourselves and receives a sent. Receives it. I guess it's by definition sent. Receives a chat message from someone else. And then it receives a global message, I guess. I don't have anything that sends a global message yet. To the global message. And then I guess a global message. How do I want to send those? Yeah, I don't think I care about that yet, actually. I think I got ahead of myself. I want that. I don't have anything that's sending them yet. Let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and get rid of the global bits here for now. Cool. Well, that's working. I still feel like I have a lot to do, but I feel like I've made a little bit of progress. We've done a little bit of pub sub. We've basically created a chat client. If we spun up a bunch of these sessions and everyone connected, then we would be able to do a little chat server back and forth, which might be kind of fun. But I'm going to go ahead and I think we need to put this out on GitHub. I don't have a project on GitHub for this yet, so or more to the point, I have an older one. So let's go to github.com/Redis Mud. This is an old one. I'm going to go into settings, and I'm going to rename this repository in the danger zone. Old. There we go. And then I'm going to go here and new repository. We'll call this Redis Mud. The owner is moi. We'll mark that as public. Create repo. We'll get this code out there so you all can mess around with it too. Yeah, that'll work. And then it says make sure your branch name main, but I've already done that. And we'll just say git add dot git commit -m day one string. Woo. There we go. Git push. There we go. And if you all want to poke around with us, now obviously one of the things that I have here that you all don't have, like if these tests aren't going to pass unless we inject the correct data into Redis, so that's kind of brittle. I guess I need to fix that. Do I have time? Not really. But I could. There's probably a in the test here I could set it up such that it does that automatically. Just sets Redis the way we want it. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We'll say import Redis client from $lib/Redis. Yes, that'll give me a Redis client. And then here in the for all, let's go ahead and add the data that we need for these tests to do things, right? And that needs to be async. Let's say Redis client dot JSON.set. And we need to set user : methlich. And in the root, set it to a JSON object with a name of that. And then we need user Conrad Taylor. Be sure here. Um, and then we need the room, that one. And we called it the hub. And I'm going to head and say, return promise.all. This is a way of doing pipelining on these commands, so these should make them run a little faster. So if you don't await a command that's asynchronous, then it'll pipeline it, so it'll feed it one after another without waiting for a response. And then if we return resolve the promise to all those and return that, then that'll make an async before all. And then, strictly speaking, we can just return that. Yeah. And then let's do npm test. I is not a function. Session spec.js, where is it finding I? What's it talking about? Is anyone see? I'm not seeing this. Are you seeing it? I don't need that. I am not seeing this error at all. It's really annoying too, because all my tests are passing. And I guess I could do this. Get all of those. That's before all of us giving them problems then. So it's you say it's stricter, Simon? Okay. See, in here, well, I was happy with the after all. This is async. Yeah. Okay, it doesn't like the promise at all. Oh well, that works. I'll roll with it. Cool. Okay. Technically, before all, after all is sort of a bad pattern, but In this particular case, I feel okay about it because I am literally just setting up a bunch of read-only test data. If I start modifying it, then we'll start getting more sophisticated and this will get refactored. But anyhow, let me go ahead and get this up there in GitHub. Git add dot git commit -m. Now really done for the first. Yeah. Now I actually am going to call it. So thanks for everyone who's watching, for hanging out with me and helping work on this. This is kind of a fun pet project of mine. We'll get it further along. Here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is I'm going to get obsessed with this, and then I'm going to be working on it in the evening when I shouldn't be. And anyhow, I'm going to try and do all of this on stream. So every Friday, I'm going to be working on this probably for a while. We did a little bit of Redis JSON. We did a little bit of pub sub with Redis. I'd like to get a little more functionality here so that instead of just getting users and chats, we can get something in front of it. And so we'll just keep working on this next week. Well, actually, next week I won't be streaming because it'll be Friday. Most of next week, I will be in Louisville, Kentucky, speaking at Codepalooza. I'm going to be doing a all-day workshop on Redis and Node.js. And then I'm going to be giving a tracking aircraft with Redis and software-defined radio. So that'll be fun as well. Speaking of radio, you're very welcome. I have to make an announcement just for fun, just for funsies. So I went out and did a foolish thing, and I now have my ham radio license. So I am a licensed ham radio operator. And so I may at some point do some fun radio integration that's not just looking at aircraft, but maybe integrating APRS data, which is little packets of data that are broadcast all over the place that I could pull live out of the air and put them on a map. And that might be kind of fun. So maybe we'll see that after I'm done building Redis mud. So, but anyhow, if you want to check out some of our stuff, of course, we've got all kinds of cool stuff to check out. Let me see what we got here from a banner point of view. I always appreciate, of course, a good follow on Twitter if you're not following me already. If you want to figure out how to get Redis Stack installed using Docker, I use this link right here. So redis.io/doc/stack, and it will take you to right here. It'll take you into this area. I use Docker because by far it's the easiest way to get up and running if you're a Docker user. And join us on our Discord server if you're not there already. I'm on there quite a bit. I've been a little lax the last couple of weeks because I've been on vacation and at conferences most of this week. But join me on discord.gg/Redis. And yeah, that's pretty much what I've got. I want to do one last thing. This is the URL for the repository. So if you, I just posted it as Redis link there. So if you want to go out and poke around with this, you can go out there and clone this repository, fork it, do what you want, have fun with it. And maybe send me a pull request and I'll merge it on stream. So until next time, I think I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.